Anthropic just released Claude Sonnet 5. It is a massive step forward for AI agents, but that capability comes with a ticking clock. Right now, it is cheap to test, but soon the API costs will jump by 50%. Through August 31st, 2026, you can run Sonnet 5 at an introductory rate, $2 per million input and $10 per million output tokens. But after August 31st, that window closes. Standard pricing takes effect, shifting your unit economics to a higher baseline. There is a second, hidden variable affecting your budget. Sonnet 5 uses a completely new tokenizer engine. This counter shows the impact. When scanning the exact same block of raw code, Sonnet 4.6 registers 1,000 tokens. Sonnet 5 spins up to 1,300. That is a 30% increase in token count for the exact same text. This tokenizer tax applies across the board. Every payload you send and receive now consumes more budget than it did on the previous generation. While Anthropic describes the transition as cost neutral, the reality is that higher token outputs can negate flat pricing. With costs rising on two fronts, you have to decide, does Sonnet 5's leap in agentic capability justify this operational premium, or is it a budget trap? The core achievement of Sonnet 5 is sustained multi-step autonomy. It manages planning, browser search, and terminal execution as a cohesive sequence. As a result, it finishes complex end-to-end coding tasks where Sonnet 4.6 historically stalled halfway through. That level of follow-through makes it a viable candidate to replace the significantly more expensive Opus 4.8 tier for certain workflows. This chart maps the trade-off. For medium-effort agentic tasks, Sonnet 5 offers major performance gains, remaining well below the cost of Opus 4.8. But for zero-fail reasoning on complex tasks, Opus 4.8 still holds the absolute peak of the performance quadrant. There is also a latency trade-off. To achieve this level of autonomy, Sonnet 5 sacrifices the near-instant response times found in smaller models like Haiku. Sonnet 5 is an execution engine that can reduce your dependency on Opus, provided you manage the underlying math of your API calls. Architecturally, you work with a 1 million token input window and a hard-walled 128K output limit. Because of the 30% tokenizer inflation, that input window effectively shrinks. You can fit less raw text into the same token budget than before. Then there is adaptive thinking, which is now enabled by default on all standard API requests. The model now automatically regulates its own logic steps to improve reasoning accuracy. These invisible thinking tokens consume space. They eat directly into your 128K output budget, actively limiting the space for the actual response text. This requires aggressive output management. If limits are too tight, the model may truncate its response while still in the middle of its internal logic. Superior reasoning is no longer a manual toggle. Your API output budget is now tied to the model's internal logic steps. Upgrading to Sonnet 5 is not a simple string swap. If you try to use your legacy payload settings, you will hit a hard 400 error. The most common migration trap is leaving manual sampling parameters in your code. If your API call contains temperature, top P, or top K, Sonnet 5 will trigger a rejection. These variables are no longer accepted for this model class. You lose manual programmatic control over creativity settings, relying instead on system prompts. A second trap is porting over legacy thinking parameters. If you include a budget.tokens array, the API will fail. Attempting to pre-fill assistant messages will also result in an immediate rejection. Removing these manual budgets simplifies your code, but it means delegating the reasoning allocation to the model's own engine. Sonnet 5 enforces strict architectural hygiene. Engineering teams must modernize their payload structures to unlock the model's agentic potential. Sonnet 5 is a powerful execution layer, but the hidden tokenizer math and strict API requirements mean you cannot afford a casual migration. Here is the checklist your team should complete before the September 1st pricing cliff. 1. Immediately run your historical text data through the Sonnet 5 tokenizer. This is the only way to establish an accurate baseline for how your specific token costs will change. 2. Purge temperature, top K, and top P from your codebases. Shift that behavioral control into your system prompts. 3. Remove all budget_tokens arrays and let the default adaptive thinking handle reasoning allocation. 4. Reevaluate your max token settings. Ensure your responses have enough room to breathe alongside the new thinking overhead. 5. Benchmark your internal workloads today to determine if Sonnet 5 can handle tasks you are currently routing to Opus. Completing this migration during the introductory window is the most direct way to stabilize your unit economics before the price increase takes effect.